I can't believe no one is talking about the fundamental characteristics that make the Galaxy Watch Ultra one of, if not the absolute best smartwatches right now. And the fact that you can pick one up from 25 to 50% off in some markets brand new makes it a complete steal and perhaps one of the best tech deals right now. So let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and in the last 2 years I've tried many different smartwatches in an attempt to get me off the Garmin Fenix 7 Sapphire Solar. I've trialed options from OnePlus, from Mobvoi, Apple, Google and Samsung. None of them have actually come anywhere close to what I want from a smartwatch, despite all being excellent options in their own right. This changes things. Samsung's Galaxy Watch Ultra, all copycat jokes aside, might be my favourite smartwatch right now, and it's taken me completely by surprise, so let's dig into that. First off, the price. Here in the UK, these can be found at around half off, or near enough, and that's kind of insane. I've seen a few US listings at around the 30% off mark, which still makes it a great deal in my opinion. It's still about 200 more than the standard Galaxy Watch 7, and functionally, they are very similar, with the main differences being the Ultra coming in a bit heavier, with better battery life, a more rugged build, which means quite a bit more weight on the wrist, and is rated for a bit more depth. It's pretty much all leaning towards sports and athletes with the Ultra's additional features, compared to the Watch 7, which is more of just a pure smartwatch that has 90% of the fitness tracking capabilities, but is catered more towards the average person. The Watch Ultra is built really nicely with a titanium chassis and sapphire front screen element. The buttons are super tactile, super clicky, way more so than any other watch I've tried. And though Samsung opted to omit the physical dial, crown or front bezel, whatever you want to call it, I don't mind that because this watch is designed for sports and harsher conditions where moving parts could be a problem. I don't mind this omission. And you certainly feel that in the weighting, the heft. It's not actually that much bigger than the normal 44mm Watch 7, but it is still a big time piece regardless. Since I'm used to having a large watch on my wrist anyway, I really don't mind this. Also worth mentioning here, I have like some of the world's smallest wrists. Like even if you're female, it's unlikely your wrists are really any skinnier than mine, yet the Ultra's strap, the stock one, still has plenty of little loops on it before I minimize it out. And speaking of fit, actually one issue that I've run into with a lot of smartwatches, and I've seen a lot of this online as well, is that the sensor cluster on the bottom of these things tends to almost dig into my wrist. It's really uncomfortable, even on the looser strap settings on watches like the Pixel Watch, for example. This was absolutely not an issue with the Ultra, and it fits just as nicely as my Fenix, despite the very different shape. It didn't give me any kind of discomfort. And the strap itself is also really nice, and I have had issues with sort of rubberized straps really irritating my skin, which rules out using them long term for any kind of sleep tracking. But this one, though it feels very similar to the other ones I've tried, has not given me the same problems. So ever since I picked it up, I've worn it pretty much every day and night, and it means I can actually use it for proper long-term sleep tracking without having to swap out to an expensive secondary strap. Speaking of, the battery and charging situation is a little weird. Like the Ultra lasts me 1 to 2 days on a charge. Here are my screen settings, by the way. Closer to 1 with the multiple activities track such as a walk and a run, and then closer to 2 days when I'm recovering and not tracking any kind of fitness activity. So about 1/10 of the battery life of my Garmin. That's not awful, and I certainly could look past this, especially if the charging wasn't surprisingly slow. Like it's just below a 600 mAh battery. It's not a big battery, yet it takes 2 hours from 1 to 100%, which is like 4 times as long as the 5400 mAh battery in my phone. It's wild. I get that it's inductive charging with a puck, but ideally what I want to do is take the watch off, go and have a shower, brush my teeth, and then when I come back I want the watch to be fully charged. But 2 hours? Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Though I do like that you get a little notification on your phone when the watch has topped up, and you probably do need this because you're waiting 2 hours. You're probably going to forget the watch is even on charge by that point. I really like the screen Samsung has used here. It's rated for 3000 nits, and honestly, not once in my time with it did I ever feel the need of a brighter screen or any other kind of screen. This is a really nice display, especially when taking it out. It's smooth, it's responsive, being an AMOLED is very punchy as well if that matters to you. I had mine with the always on display option ticked, and it responds pretty quickly to the raise to wake feature. You notice a little bit of a hiccup there, but it's really minimal. I don't love that you have to download two different apps on your phone, one for the watch management and the other for the fitness tracking, but I do understand why Samsung has done this, and there are other companies that do the same thing. Within Galaxy Wear, there are heaps of different adjustments you can make, from watch faces to the tiles or the home screens, the custom button on the side that can be mapped to a myriad different functions. You can also download watch apps through this as well and manage Samsung Pay notifications. There's a lot in this application. When you switch over to Samsung Health, you'll find pretty much exactly what you'd expect. Step count, sleep data from the night before, the ability to start activities and see important metrics like heart rate, stress levels, blood oxygen, blood pressure, blood glucose. There's also this thing called Energy Score, which is a bit like Garmin's body battery. It collects several different metrics throughout the day and your sleep as well, and then spits out what it determines is your current energy or readiness level. Is it accurate? I guess. I feel like as humans we kind of know when we're spent because we can just feel it, but it's a cool feature to have, and one that I'm glad is on the Watch Ultra, like it has been introduced on several different models at this point. I tracked a few walks and runs, and I found this data to be pretty similar to what I'm used to out of my Garmin, to be honest, and that's a big compliment because the Garmin is one of the best and most accurate sports watches. The Watch Ultra has a pretty advanced heart rate tracking sensor with more LEDs in it, which should aid in accuracy, and it also supports dual band GPS for more granular location sensing. And I did actually notice this, as the watch latches onto GPS way quicker than I've had out of past Galaxy watches, which means I can start my activity sooner, which limits the friction, which can only really be a good thing. So I'm glad that the GPS has been improved here. You might not get as much pure volume of data out of this as you would do with, say, a Garmin and its insane level of granular metrics, but all the fundamentals are here and they feel pretty accurate. In fact, I do massively recommend checking out DC Rainmaker's video for a seriously in-depth and thorough fitness tracking test. He is extremely good at testing this stuff and is several orders of magnitude fitter than I am. Speaking of, the Ultra runs One UI Watch version 6 on WearOS 5. And if you've used a Galaxy Watch from the past couple of generations, you'll feel right at home here. I do quite like the layout here, but having the home button on the top and then the back button at the bottom throws me off a little bit coming from Garmin. And it's also one of those things where the more you use it, it will just become more muscle memory to you. The Galaxy Watch Ultra isn't a perfect piece of technology by any stretch of the imagination. I don't love the lack of the physical dial as much as I get it. And you know what? These charging speeds, they desperately need improving. But I guess the virtual front bezel that uses the touchscreen and gives you stupidly crisp haptic feedback is actually a really nice compromise for me. And if you're a serious athlete who trains daily, there really is no beating a Garmin, to be quite honest. But for what this is, and for the price that you pay, and the fact that it's still a smartwatch, not just a sports watch, it's my go-to recommendation for those who are still serious about their fitness but don't want to sacrifice the gorgeous display, super quick operation, and most importantly, the smart capabilities of their watch, just to have something tough, rugged, and with a high quality health and fitness tracking. It's a really, really good blend of a dedicated sports watch and a smartwatch. Coming from my Garmin, I found the Ultra to do pretty much all I need from a serious fitness tracking standpoint. And combine that with the great smart features of a traditional smartwatch, wrapping that up in a really nice, rugged feeling yet good looking chassis, the Watch Ultra might be the first watch I've used to prise me away from my Fenix and get me back on WearOS. What a machine. What do you guys make of the Galaxy Watch Ultra? Does it do enough over the already very good Galaxy Watch 7 to be worthy of the extra cash? Review of that watch coming soon, by the way. Do you rock a dedicated sports watch or not any wearables at all? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments, because one of these things is one of the most personal purchases, way more so than a phone anyway. While you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content, and of course subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.